Hi everybody, it's Chris Petri. Thanks again for coming by. We're going to have a wonderful time. We're going to paint this painting. We're going to draw it first. We're going to cover all the details you need to get this composition in this painting completed. Basically, we'll cover all the ways we're going to measure out the house. We're going to create a house with a beautiful window through the other side of the room inside this home, so that you have a real beautiful three-dimensional quality to this painting. So we'll have some beautiful blue skies. We're going to have some beautiful architecture with clapboard siding and trim, rake trim, roofing. We're going to have some beautiful stonework. We just practiced this recently, doing some beautiful field stone on the bottom of our home here. It's a nice, beautiful farmhouse in the farm country. We're going to have, again, a really nice three-dimensional quality to this, adding this window into the interior of this room. So stick with me here. Come along. This will be a lot of fun. And I know for certain we're going to learn a really good deal about the process of just setting up your painting, getting the drawing completed. We measure everything out with our ruler, so you'll find it'll be a lot easier as you're drawing along with this video, because I'm going to give you all the dimensions you need. You know, we're going 2 inches here, 2 inches over here. We're going 4 inches here and 2.5 inches here. We're going 2 inches over from here to the edge of the house. So we cover all the dimensions you need to be able to really do this efficiently. And once you get the drawing down, we're going to have just a great time painting it together. So let's get ourselves situated. Let's grab our brushes. Let's grab our paints. Everything. We're going to need a ruler on this one, and we'll be all set. We'll have our fresh water and our sponge for checking water off. We'll have our brushes. We're using just a couple brushes here, a couple round brushes, and we're using a flat brush as well. So we have a flat brush we're going to use for the larger washes of the sky and over here on the hills and some of the siding. And then we use more of the round brushes for the areas like the windows and the stonework. So you'll see we have all this in store for you on this video. So let's not delay. Let's get started in just a second. All right, so we're getting started here. You just saw the finished painting. We had a lot of fun painting this, and we kind of, we just used some imagination here. We did some, work with our, creative skills. We came up with a few ideas of like a side of a house, a window, another window inside the building on the other side of the room that we're looking at through this window here. So we have a window looking through the room. Maybe it's a living room or a bedroom, and then we see another window in the distance. And then we have some more hills in the side of this house on the right-hand side. So we have the predominant large structure is the house here on the left side of our paper. So you just saw that in the painting. So we're just going to kind of recap what we're doing here. And then we had a video just just recently we did a video on doing different kind of textures with if you're doing houses, architecture, city scenes, landscapes where you have farms, city scenes where you have buildings. You have all kinds of interesting bricks, stone. So we did this on a recent video. If you want to catch up on your facade materials like stone and brick and different things like that, you just type in Chris Petri, my first name, last name, Chris Petri, and you just type in stone and brick. So if you just type in 4 words, Chris Petri, stone and brick, you'll find this video. Some of you have probably seen it. It was just recently, like within the last few weeks. So we do cover interesting things like this, like little tidbits of information that you can use. What I do is I always paint things like this, and then I put it in a folder in my studio, so that if I'm going to do, let's say, a painting of a farmhouse or something, and there's field stone in the painting, then I can refer to this photograph, and then it clicks back in my mind, and I remember when I did this, how I did it, or if I need to do some brickwork or stonework, brickwork, I remember how we did this. We painted the orange mortar first for the mortar joints, and then we painted the bricks on top of that once it dried. So you have this fun type of work you can do, compositions of different types of textures, of different materials. If you're doing anything, like I said, city scenes, cityscapes, landscape paintings, anything like that. If you find any of these materials that you see out in the in photographs or in books, or if you're out in the plein air painting and going out and sightseeing and taking pictures and on vacation or around your local area, whatever it is. So just a thing to keep in mind. So I'm going to use this. I'll keep this across from me. We're going to use the fieldstone actually for this painting. Of course, you just saw that. And let's continue on here. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just get an approximate idea of where we're going to put our wall, our outside wall here for our structure. So I think this should be fine if we go over here and we kind of keep the building the predominant structure in the painting. So it feels real solid. It's the largest part of the painting that feels solid, weighted down. And then over here, a smaller area of like the distant fields and sky as we can see in the finished painting. So I just did that. I made sure I made 3/4 of the painting the actual structure itself, the house. A beautiful house here. We have a kind of like a farmhouse type of look. So then we're going to put our wall here, and I just make sure it's straight. So my ruler should be plumb. You can always double check by measuring over here and just kind of keeping track of the width of this. So this is 5.5 centimeters. If you go down here, this is 5. That's a little bit. It's not perfect, but that looks pretty good to me. I think that's acceptable. If it's a millimeter off or two, no big deal. And then we have like a 45-degree angle for our roof, like this. Like this. So it's like a 45-degree angle, and we just take a pencil line and go like this. And then we bring that pencil line a little bit beyond. We're going to put a little bit of an overhang on our roof here, and we're going to make this some fascia trim. So we're going to make some fascia trim here. So we'll do that. We'll make actually it's a rake board trim, like this. And then what we'll do is we'll make it vertical, a little bit past. We go past the wall here a little bit, so you can kind of see this is the wall, the vertical wall, which is plumb, like this. We'll just make sure that's plumb, basically vertical, straight vertical, plumb line. Then we go with about a 45-degree angle here. That's our rake board there. And we'll try to bring that down a little bit past the wall. So there's a little bit of an overhang there. And we can even go a little more, let's say. Maybe like that. And then we're going to want to take another vertical line here for the fascia board. Like this. So now you have a vertical line here, which is the same vertical line as this one here, over here, right here, for this line. And again, you're just going over a little bit past the wall. So your roof is going to be overhanging the wall just a little bit. This way, when the rain and snow, it kind of drips, and there's no water and things infiltrating into the side of your house, on your wall of your house or your windows over here. So that's a good thing to remember. We want to keep our walls with having too much rain and water and ice and snow running onto the walls. We want to keep the rain and snow off the walls of the building, so we put that roof overhang about 2 feet overhanging the wall so that the rain and the snow can come off and then drip off and come down to the ground and not affect the wall itself of the building or the house or the building, whatever it is, structure. And then let's see here. Let's do another secondary trim. So this is going to be the first trim, a little bit thinner over here, like this. And this is kind of a decorative trim, just another additional trim. And then this trim is a little wider. So basically it's 2 pieces of trim on the rake boards, on the rake edges of this gable roof, like that. And that's pretty good. And then there's some shingles on here. So we're just going to put some shingles, which are just overlapped. You just make some indications. We'll put a little bit of indications of that for some roof shingles. And that is really the simplicity of this kind of wall here, and this roof and this rake board. So that looks pretty good. Then we're going to take our window. We're going to create a window here. So we might say to ourselves, where are we going to put the window in relation to the wall here? I would say let's maybe start at maybe about here. So we're going to start our window over here. You can, like this. So I'll put the window here. So if you can imagine, behind this wall, there's going to be a ceiling in this room. So there's going to be a ceiling in the room. It could be a vaulted ceiling, so there might not be a ceiling here in this room behind this wall. But we're going to pretend there is a ceiling in this room, and it's about here, just so we kind of know, all right, that's our reference mark. That's going to be the ceiling of the interior of this space here, this building, this house. So inside this house, there's a ceiling. We're going to pretend we can see it, even though we can't see it, but it's about here. So that means our window is going to be a little bit below the ceiling. We don't want to have our window right up at against the top of the ceiling. So our window is going to be down from the ceiling a bit, maybe 2 feet. So let's pretend that's 2 feet, just so we have an idea of what we're going to do here. And then we'll just make a rectangular window. And again, the same thing, you just want to keep this line parallel for your window. We're going to make a rectangular window like this. And you can make your window a little different as far as your size of window. But I'm just going to make mine basically like a rectangular window, and I can give you the size here, actually, that we're doing. So this piece of paper, again, I always start out with mentioning, please, when you start out your painting, always take a mat, a pre-cut mat you can buy online, Amazon, any art stores online have it. You can go to your local art supply stores, your big box stores like you can just, AC Moore, Michaels, Blix, all these big, large stores that are out there. Jerry's Artarama. There's a lot of different places by my house. I have literally 10 or 20 art stores, within like 10, 15 minutes of driving from my house. So these are the type of places I can go to. I get these pre-cut mats. I put them down on my paper, and then I just make sure that when I draw my painting and then put my tape down, it's going to fit inside this window of this pre-cut mat and even have a little extra room. So I'll always make it larger than this opening of this pre-cut mat. So you want to make your actual painting a little larger than this. It can be any amount larger, but you can't be any smaller than this mat unless you shift down to a smaller pre-cut mat, which you can do too. If your painting somehow doesn't look great with the larger mat, you can always shrink it down and use a smaller mat, and then you just trim away all the extra paper, and you can, basically crop in your, like if you're a photographer, you take pictures and maybe you take them a little larger than you might need them, and then you can go in and take your photographs, and then you crop them down, you make them smaller by just trimming out the excess around the edges, and then you can kind of move your frame around just to the right spot where you think it looks just perfect. And that's a great way to approach this. And then, okay, so my paper here is 8 by 10. So I have an 8 by 10 paper. And so we could just kind of get the rough measurements here. So if it's an 8 by 10 paper, I went over 2 inches for my wall. So here is 2 inches over. 2 inches over this way is the wall. Then about another 2 inches is the window over here. And then this window here is 2 1/4 inches, approximately 2 1/4 inches. And the window is 4 inches high. And then what I'll do is I'll divide this window in half. 4 inches, I'm going to go halfway. And that's going to be it'll be a double hung window, which is 2 sashes. So I'll put my halfway point there. And there we basically have our 2 sashes of our window, our upper sash and lower sash. And we'll have trim around this window a little bit. We'll continue to draw and figure out our game plan as far as our details here. But you can kind of see, I'll draw this a little darker. So you can kind of see here how we're developing this. We're going along, we're creating here, we're being creative, we're having a fun time, we're improvising, we're creating as we go along. We can always learn at another time in the future how we might do this a little better, so on and so forth, but there's no better time than right now to just start working and improvising and having a fun time creating a little wall, a house with a window, you know, a little bit of roof and trim. And you can kind of see we're already having a decent looking result here. So again, the edge of the painting is here. So we're just going to have the edge of our painting here. That's our border of our painting. And again, we set our border, or actually our painting itself is 10 by, we said it was a 8 1/4 by 10. Then for our wall here on our house, we went over 2 inches from the edge, 2 inches. Then from here we hop, skip, and a jump over another 2 inches. That's our window. And then we went over another 2 1/4 inches here, and that's the other edge of the window. And then there's probably another 2 inches left over, not quite 2 inches. 1 3/4 left over on this side. So that's good. So that's how we have our basic idea of the window. And then the window from the bottom of our painting, which is right here, from the bottom of our painting, maybe I can just zoom out a little bit. There we go. So from the bottom of our tape to our window is 2 1/4 inches here. And that's basically what we have. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a stone water table on our building here, on our house. This is a beautiful house here, a farmhouse. And so we're going to go with below the window here. So let's go up. A lot of times water tables are right onto the underside of a window. So let's do that. Let's make our water table right up to the underside of this window. So we're going to put some trim on the window first. Let's make some trim around the window. So you just make it about, maybe about if you're using the inch scale, I would say 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, I'm sorry. 1/4 inch. You can make it less than 1/4 inch. I would go about, I don't know, 3/16 to 1/4 inch. I'll just do it by feel, like that. 3/16 doesn't have to be perfect. And you'll just see I'm going to go right around and make my trim around the outside of my window, like so. And you can, you know, make it imperfect. You don't have to measure everything exact. As long as it's looking pretty close, as you go around that window, you're going to be fine. Like that. And then we're going to do the sash of the window. So we're going to do, we'll make it, we'll erase this line in the center, which is the actual exact center of the window. We're going to erase that line, but leave that line enough that you can just see it, and then you'll make your trim, your sash actually, of your window right on the center of that line. So you go with a line above it and a line below it. Sash is usually a little bit larger, like so. And that looks pretty good. And then we'll keep this, maybe we'll look, let's see, I'll browse around on my phone a little bit. So I have my phone across from me, and I browse around and look for different ideas, but you want to do that too. You want to get used to browsing around on your internet, on your phone, your iPad, your home computer, to get ideas. That's a real fun way of building a painting, building a composition, is you can come up with ideas just by looking at pictures. You type in maybe something like, you know, watercolor window paintings, and then you'll find, and then if you type in famous watercolor window paintings, you'll probably find a lot of really interesting ones, like from great artists of old that have, you know, come through the years. You know, Wyeth paintings, Winslow Homer, Hopper, all those great painters. You know, tons of painters out there, old master painters. They've done great work. So let's not try to reinvent the wheel. Okay, I'm hoping I'm not boring you here with this information, but sometimes it's good to get into the nitty-gritty of information. Tell you what, let's take a quick break. I'm kind of going to have to maybe just research one more thing on my my phone possibly just for my window ideas here. But as you can see, we've already got a lot of good information on here. We have our window, our wall here. This is our house. We have our rake boards along our roof edge, which is our gable roof coming down this way. And then now we're just going to figure out, we're going to put some stone on the bottom of this house. So I just want to maybe research a picture or two of how this might look with the stone on the underside of this window. And we'll have some beautiful field stone under here. And we'll put on some clapboard siding along the side of the house here. And we'll put in another wonderful window, as you saw in the painting just in the beginning of the video, here on the inside of this room. And what that does is it creates an incredible feeling of three-dimensional quality to your painting. So I hope you're really going to enjoy this as we keep going. We have the fundamental basics of the painting done right now. Drawing, I should say, done. And then we're going to get to the painting in just a minute or two. But let's just get a few more details in here on the window, the stonework underneath the window, the field stone, and then we'll do some clapboard siding. So we're going to draw this in, take our time. Let's not start painting too soon. Let's get the details of what we need in first. Then we'll keep working. And once you got all your details in pretty much solid with your drawing, then you go in and start painting. And then it's fun. The painting process goes really 1, 2, 3 easy, because you've already got your whole structure and your blueprint. Let's say your blueprint is already in on your paper now, your watercolor paper, and then it's a matter of going in and putting your washes on and you're all set. Okay, so let's get to that point where we can start painting with confidence, feeling fun, having a fun time. It's free, and it's also relaxing, because you don't have to worry about, if you're not worrying about having to go back in and draw anything else or pencil in anything else or check lines or anything like that. Once you're done with your drawing, as far as when I'm teaching and I'm on YouTube here, I'm always kind of mentioning that. Let's get our drawing done first, get it done 100% complete the way you want it, and then you start your painting, and then you're all set. And then from that point, it's just you mix your paintings up, and then you go in and start painting, and you're all good to go, and you're ready to start painting, and you can just get the painting done quickly, efficiently, and it looks much better that way if you're not kind of like, delaying a lot of things when you're painting and going back and erasing things and drawing. Let's get it all done in the sequence that works the best, and that's drawing first. Get your drawing 100% good. Bam, go in, you do your painting next, and you have your colors and your palette mixed first before you go in and paint. We'll show you all of these things in the next few minutes of the video. The next 10, 20 minutes, we'll have the drawing done, and we'll start mixing some paints, and then after that, we'll get to the painting portion, okay? All right, we'll be right back. Hey, always mention, too, on the right-hand side below is the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. It's just real easy. You just hit the button, subscribe, and then you click on the notification bell right next to the subscribe button. So right next to that subscribe button below is a notification bell. You click on that, all notifications. It's the top bell. And that basically what it does is the next time you open up YouTube, you will see my latest videos, a little small window of my videos on your channel. So this way, if you want to check and see what I'm doing recently, the last couple weeks of my painting, you can just click on it quick and check and see what I'm doing. You don't lose me, and you'll be able to kind of see on the side of your YouTube channel what I'm up to. And this way, it's not distracting you too much, but you will kind of be notified of when I'm making new videos. And I'm hoping you're going to stick with me here. We're having tons of fun together. Let's get back to work in just a minute. I just want to take a quick break, relax for a few minutes, stretch, and I'll come right back. Thanks. All right, so we're going to continue on here. We have, basically, we've developed everything pretty well. As our sketch, we have our window, our side of our house here, the wall of our house. We have our rake boards and our roof. Let's get our stonework in here, our field stone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a stone sill underneath this window, which is common when you have stonework on a house. Many times architects and engineers will design stone for the bottom portion of a structure. Kind of looks beautiful. It ties it down into the ground level area of the structure. Kind of ties in with the ground, with the earth itself. Stone's a perfect way to kind of tie your building down into your ground level. And we're just going to do some stones over here like so. So we have some stone here and under here like that. Okay, I'm going to draw these in darker and more carefully. You'll see as I go. I'm just trying to get a feel here now and get my start to my stonework. So we have a stone sill that sits all the way across this section here, which caps the top of the stone. A nice, beautiful limestone sill. It's kind of like a light gray color, so that's going to go all the way across straight. And then there's usually some mortar joints in between the sill stones, like so. And there's another joint there. You can also just remove that. Like that there. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we'll make some clapboard siding. I like the wide boards, the wide clapboards. Those kind of look, to me, I like those the most. They're kind of, the really thin ones too look really good. I guess I like clapboard, and wood siding looks great. Maybe some of you have wood siding on your home or your building, your apartment, or your place where you live. So if we just take the idea that this window here is maybe 3 feet by 3 feet and 3 feet by 3 feet. So let's say this window is overall 3 feet wide by 6 feet tall. That's pretty much an average, or that's a good size window, 3 feet wide by 6 feet high. So if we were to make our clapboard siding maybe like 8-inch boards, we would just take a calculator and divide 72 inches divided by 8. So I can always take my phone and go and open up my calculator and say, if I divide 72 inches, which is 6 feet, divide that by 8 inches, that equals 9. So I need 9 boards on that window area. So all I got to do is I have to remember I have to have 9 boards across here. So let's do this. If I need 9 boards, that means I need like 3 sections of 3. So I need thirds here. So this is fun, and this is where if you're really good at math, you're going to just really breeze through this part of the video. If you're like me and you're not so great at math, you got to bust out your calculator, start scratching your head a little bit, look at the ruler. Let's see if I can do it with centimeters. This might work, not really. What I'll do is if I need 9 planks that are 8 inches each, I'll do it the easy way. I'll divide this area into thirds. So I can just kind of basically do it by eye, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, just roughly. You can kind of move your line around a little bit. So you can kind of see I can get thirds pretty good there. Not really. That's kind of, got to move this down a little. Thirds might be here and here. That looks better. So I have 3/3 here, 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. That's all I needed to do. Then I just have to break these 3 blocks into thirds. 1, 2, 3, and there you go. I have my clapboard siding for the most part. It's not perfect, but it's sort of a game plan on how to get your planking correct. So, and again, planking, especially if it's an older home, and you just transfer your lines over. You can use a ruler and transfer your lines across. So if you did this block over here of 3 blocks of 3 planks each, then you can just come across here and do the same thing and just do your 3 blocks over here like that, another third, and then you can just do these thirds here. And it's good to practice doing thirds, halves, whatever you like to divide up your space divisions when you're working, but that looks pretty good. And then now here we can kind of say, all right, we've done these. We've gotten the thirds that we needed. How much are these? These are 1 centimeter each. kind of simple. So now we just go this way and say, let's go up here and do 1 centimeter lines. 1 centimeter, 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 1 centimeter. Then we go across here and we just make sure your ruler is not tipped this way or this way. So you can even start it out this way and go here, and you can kind of see how it looks here and say, yeah, that looks pretty straight. And again, it's old wood siding, so if it's a little bit tipped, no big deal. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to get it somewhat close. It'll look much better if it's pretty close to level, your lines for your siding like this. And I just go up to each of those hash marks I made, which were 1 centimeter each, and you can kind of see how I just developed this. And these are fun, great compositions to do, because then you kind of start getting used to measuring things, dividing up things into divisions, space divisions. Really helpful for artwork, because you're always going to be confronted with structures, buildings, barns, houses, skyscrapers, you name it. You're going to always have these type of things, these type of challenges when you're doing artwork. So always, this will prepare you for that whenever you. And it looks like I did make some smaller planks up here, and these a little bit larger here. But again, you can always do things creatively, think of things on your own too. I'm just giving you kind of like how I did this. You could just right from the beginning start and say, you know what, 1 centimeter planks are fine the whole way up, and I'm not going to try to worry about blocking things out or whatever else. And you could just start doing that and just take your ruler and just start from the bottom here where the stone sill is, and then just go up and say, okay, I'm going to put my ruler right at the start here at the stone sill, and I'm just going to go 1 centimeter all the way up. 1, 2, 3, and go all the way up with hash marks. And then just take your ruler and just go up this way. That's another way to do it. But I just kind of went with the flow of things, and you can kind of see how it looks. And I'm not going to really worry about erasing anything. We could do it a little better. I could take this and redo it and erase it, but then I don't want to really do that. Don't worry about it. If you're doing something in artwork, you're creating a painting, a composition, go for it, get it started, work it on through, and then once you do this one, you'll start another one the next day or in a week or two. Whenever you feel up to it, you start another one. This will be your practice one first, and then you'll go and do a more refined, better version of this sketch and this painting you're going to do. Okay, so always remember, you can always do another one or 2 or 3 or 10. It's up to you. All right, so here we go. We got our planking done. Let's do our stone. So here we're going to do our field stone. I'll do more permanent field stone now. You'll see I'm going to just kind of try to get this going here. And I'm going to do this over here. So I'm going to have some fun with this. This is going to be a larger. So maybe I'm going to make my field stone like so. And this is another field stone here. And field stones are a little more round. So let's keep them round here for the most part. You can have little small pieces that you plug into your work as you're going. So you might do some round field stones, and then you'll have some smaller pieces that you plug in between. And not all of them might be round. You might have a few polygonal shapes if you want. You can do a couple rectangular shapes too if you need to, just to keep them going. And you're trying to plug in some pieces here and there. Another piece here. So you can kind of see I'm just going along here. I'm using my pattern. I'm actually looking at my pattern that I did. We did this all together. So we did this all together, recently, within the last couple weeks. So you can just go back and look at my videos over the last couple weeks, and you'll see we did the facade materials for structures like houses and farms and buildings and things like that. And we're using the fieldstone pattern here. And we're going to continue on. So we have this here. that. So that's what I'm doing here, is just getting my field stone in. There we go, field stone complete. And you take your time doing your field stone. You can look up field stone online to get more shapes and patterns and ideas. You can use this that we did just recently, last week, for your guide. Okay, and then we have our limestone here, like that. That's capping the wall. We'll put a shadow under that. And it looks like we have pretty much everything looking really good. I think we're ready to start painting. The only thing I think we might need, I think this is good actually. The only thing we might need is, let's do a little bit of we're going to, like I said, we're going to make that three-dimensional quality to this. So that's when we can take this window and we can create another window in this picture over here. Like that. So there's another window in this room. And we're going to make that window here. So let's put that window in here on the interior of this room. This room is going to be dark inside, shadowy. It's kind of like, you know, maybe a hot sunny day. So the interior of this room is going to be quiet, and maybe it's like a farmhouse and the farmers are out working in the fields, and the inside of the house is, the lights are off and it's nice and dark in there, and they're keeping it cool for later on in the evening when they go back in to relax and have dinner. So they have their windows open here. And there's a breeze flowing through, and it's shady and cool inside, and there's a shade up here. So we'll pretend that this is a shade up here. And then over here in this room, we'll leave that window open here, and then we're going to have an exciting little bit of hills over here, and then this hill in the distance through this window that we see across on the other side of the house, that's going to be the same hill that we see over here, like that. And then maybe over here we have a driveway of some sort, or a road. We'll kind of mix it up. We'll make this kind of a subtle area over here on the right. And we're going to keep this simple. We're not going to get too detailed with this painting. We're going to kind of keep it you know, low key. We're going to get some beautiful washes on here. First thing we'll do is we'll take another break, and then we'll mix up our paints and start doing our washes. So you're going to have a lot of fun doing this. It's really exciting. You'll see we're going to do some shadowing on this too as well. So we're going to have light and shadow. The light is going to be coming from high in the sky, way above. If you like to, I always mention this, please, if you're creating your paintings, try to put a little light insignia on your tape up here, just so you kind of know where your light source is going to be. So we're going to pretend this is high noon. The sun's high up in the sky, up overhead. So the light's going to be coming high up above us, straight up over the top of our heads. So we're not going to see any real severe shadows anywhere, like long shadows or really heavy shadows. They're going to be light, just kind of very small, diminutive shadows in the painting. Kind of makes it easier for us too as we go and we paint. But let's get started with our painting in just a second. I'm just going to take another quick break, and we'll be back in a second or two. All right, we're back, and we're going to have some fun now. Let's get into the paints. All right, I have my oval 16 set. You know, this is an extreme beginner style painting. So I'm going to have my Oval 16 paints, which are semi-moist paints. They're really awesome. You just spritz them with a little bit of water, and in a couple minutes or two, you're ready to start painting. And when you're done, you can just leave them like this and walk away, and you're ready until you're ready to paint the next time. You just spritz them, and they're ready to go. Really no muss, no fuss. These paints are great for when you're first starting out, maybe, you know, your first year of painting. You don't have to go out and spend tons of money on all kinds of fancy oil tube paints, I should say, or anything like that. You know, you can just use the Oval 16 set. Good synthetic brushes here we have. We have the Princeton Art and Brush Company. They have a gorgeous set for like 6 brushes for like $10. It comes with a couple of flat brushes like this. It comes with a couple of round brushes like so. You also have, let me see if I can find them. Well, I don't want to waste any more time walking around my studio trying to find things, but yeah, here it is, actually. This is the brush that comes with the Prang Oval 16 set, a gorgeous round brush. So if you just get this one set of Prang Oval 16 watercolor, semi-moist watercolors, it comes with a round brush, and you can pretty much paint a lot with this round brush, except it's going to be, this is perfect for like small painting. So if you want to start out doing small compositions, that's perfect. But then once you start getting into larger paintings like this, you're going to need to get the probably something similar to the Princeton Art and Brush Company brushes, which are a little larger. And this is also a Simply Simmons number 6, which is a larger round brush. And these are all synthetic, which is great for when you're first starting out. You really don't want maybe brushes that carry too much water in the brush hairs, because then this can be an issue where you start flooding out your paper with too much water. So that's the reason I always suggest using synthetic brushes when you're first starting out, or if you're an old pro already and you're just having a fun time joining along here with us, well, then you don't have to really worry about anything like this. You're already zipping along with your art materials and supplies that you have. But I always mention this because I know a lot of people are just starting out, and you're coming by for the first time. Even if it's your first time here, thanks so much for coming by. I'm so happy you're here. You're going to find that watercolor is such a fun medium to work with. It's so much, enjoyment with watercolors. You can paint it any time, and bring it anywhere. Vacations, you can bring it to your friend's house if you're visiting. You can bring it to family gatherings. You can go out on the weekends or anytime you want and do a little sketchbook painting in a park or wherever you want. You can bring watercolors anywhere you go. They're easy, fun. You just spritz a little water on them and you're painting. So let's get started here. I have fresh, clean, crystal clear water to start with. I'm thinking we should start with the darks first. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to, and again, we're improvising here. And you saw my finished painting. So once you have that finished painting that you have seen in the beginning of my video, you can, if you want to, if you have maybe like a home computer and then like a cell phone, you can maybe take your home computer and put my finished painting, and you just hit stop or, pause on the first few minutes of my video, and you can set that across from you, and then you have my finished painting sitting right there, and then you can sit here and work with us here as we work along. So there's always a great number of ways you can work, but that's a good way to work if you want my finished painting so you can see what it looks like from the start. That's fine. That works great. So like I said, we're going to start with the darks first. So let's get our darks mixed up here. Let's use a nice brown. This is our brown. And then we'll add some blue and purple to that brown, like so. Maybe a little bit of orange too. Maybe a touch of black, but I would really keep the black up here at the top. Black can really, it's very, very powerful. So a little more red, I think. Well, let's make it a warm, kind of a warm dark. So a warm dark is lots of dark, but lots of warmth in there too. So that's reds and oranges. And then again, maybe a little more black. That looks good. Red, orange. And I think that's going to be good. So now we're going to go in, and then we're going to do our darks here. So this is, let's get our, I'm using my Simply Simmons number 6, and you just carefully get your darks going. And you just want to carefully look at your subject matter and say, okay, I'm looking across I just want to make sure I'm leaving that window sash in there. Like you don't want to paint over anything really. That's crucial. That really can be a bother for you. Then you can mix some more kind of warmer colors, reds and oranges over here, and put those in. That gives a feeling of warmth and excitement in your washes. So we wouldn't want to just go in here and say, oh, all right, let's just go with a black, or or a dark brown and a black. Let's kind of mix some warm and cool everywhere. So you're having some warm and cool mixes within your washes. Really wonderful to do it that way. And then you add some cools in there too. Add a little bit of blue in your darks. That looks good too. So I'm going to add some blues to my darks too, like that. And that looks really good. And there's a little bit of light there. And I dry off my brush. When I rinse my brush, I dry a little bit of water off on the sponge, and I also can dry off a little bit of water on a tissue. Like that. And these window panes, I'm going to make these dark. The actual sashes of the windows. Those are dark. Like that. All right, look, we've already made a lot of progress. This is fantastic. Okay, so we have that there. Then this here, we're going to take some green, which is our light green. We're going to take some blue and some green. So we're going to make blue and green over here. Rinse off the brush. A little bit of orange, a little bit of brown. Kind of mix up a little bit of a blue and a green, and then get some brown and orange in there just so for to warm it up a little. And then we're going to get our window shade in here, which is kind of that bluish, kind of a lighter color though. And you just have lots of color right here to work with now. So we mix up first, get our colors all mixed up, then you have a fun time. You just get in there and we're doing our window shade. I get some color on there, then I can rinse off the brush, dry off a little bit of the water off the brush so there's not too much water on there. And then you can just kind of move your brush around with a damp brush and kind of get some interesting colors on there. That's the shade. And there's a little bit of a, it's going to be more of a grayish color though. I wouldn't put too much of an exciting bright colors in the shade. The shade's kind of a dull, even if I have to go in and muddy it up a little bit, make it a little darker with some of that color we mixed. You can always blot up a little bit too if it's too much dark. But that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's our shade. And I just try to get a couple little quick zips across that shade there. Scrub a little bit, have some fun with this. Don't stress over it. And that looks pretty good. You got to do a little bit of finger painting, give it some texture, blot a little bit with your tissue. Always fun to kind of do these type of things, get little textures going on your washes. You always want your washes to have lots of texture to them. So whenever you're working your washes, get your colors in your wash in. Have a fun time doing that. Get that in there. And then when you start to see you're kind of finishing up, winding down, getting that wash in there, then you could do little taps with your finger, a couple blots with your tissue, and there you have it. A little bit of shadow under there, like so. So there's a little bit of a shadow underneath the sash of the window there. So that's good. And then also over here, there's a shadow under here. But you can see they're not really large shadows, just a little bit underneath the window frame. Okay, now we're going to do some more shadowing with our siding. So we just mix up some different kinds of shadows, all different kinds of interesting colors. And then what we do is we just make tiny bits of shadow here on the, and what I would do is I would do just a little bit here and there. I wouldn't do everything. Very, very tiny little bits of shadow like that. Now, one thing I did want to say is we should have some corner trim on this. There should be a corner trim on the house here. So I forgot to put that in. So let's do that now. Sometimes you do forget things. Don't worry about it. No worries. If you forget something on your painting and you have to go in and pencil it in, you just do it. We'll go in and we'll put some white paint there to wipe out those darker shadows we just put in there. But I guess the main thing I was thinking of is, you want to start getting your shadows in for your clapboard siding. And you just want to have a few spots here and there, not a lot. Use different colors, the browns. Again, warm and cool everywhere. These are the shadows under the clapboards. Like that. And I think that's good. You don't have to have too many. A few here and there, that should be fine. Okay, so now we have that. Now what we can do is get some fresh, clean water. Better to err on the side of getting some fresh, clean water, other than than continuing on and just using the murky, muddy water that we have. That's what I always say, is try to change your water frequently. Especially when you use a lot of these dark washes. You're definitely going to have a lot of dark, muddy water if you're mixing dark washes like this. All right, so let's start doing our stonework. And again, I'll use this as my guide. My field stone from what we did a few weeks ago or last week. Our field stone swatch. There we go. I'm going to use that. I'm going to set that right across from me. And I'll just start looking at that, and I might make it a little bit darker under here. So we do the darker parts of the stonework, or the undersides here, like that. And maybe we won't make this as colorful. Maybe we'll kind of I guess we can kind of Work some of that gold color in there, like that. Some warmer darks there. And then we just so I try to put a little bit of blue in there too. Try to get some warm and cool everywhere. Lighter up on the tops of the stones, darker underneath on the bottoms of the stones. That's all we have to really remember. The light's coming from above, shining down, so you're not going to see the shadows on the tops of the stones. You'll see the shadows at the bottom of the stones like we're doing here. You can do a little splashing. That's always good. Some splashing on the stones there. A little bit of green in there, so I'll just use a little bit of the different colors, some of the reds. So now I'm going to try to move along kind of quickly. You'll see this is where I'll try to speed up the process. I'm going to try to start really zipping along here as quick as I can, actually. Let me do that. Let's see how I can do, if I can get this really done fast for you, so that you can really see that you can get a lot of stonework covered here. So we let that, we get the darks in there. That's all you have to do, is kind of put a couple of darks in there as you go. You can let that set up as you go, so you get a little dark in there, like this. You get some darks on the bottoms of the stone. That's always good. A couple of darks there. Look at that. Look at that. How good that looks. And you just keep moving on along. You know, get the darks in there. Get the darks on the bottoms of the stones. Get the shape of the stone, the curves and things on the bottoms of the stones. Then once you get the darks on the bottoms of the stones, then you just rinse the brush off. And with a damp brush, you just smooth it on out on the upwards, like that. We'll make some darker shadows under here. This is going to be a dark shadow across here, so let's just get that in. A little bit of blue. There we go. Just so we get that shadow in there. If you go over a spot, no big deal. And that's the only place you wouldn't see. You'll see shadow under here, like that. Then I'll just start reactivating all those darks. That's what's great about this semi-moist paint. You can reactivate your washes by just a little bit of a damp brush like this. So you'll take your time more doing your stone. I'm kind of doing it quickly just so you know we can keep moving along here in the video. I don't want to spend 4 hours, you know, doing this, but you could take that time. Take as much time as you want to create your stonework, you know, your field stone. You know, you can really take your time, you know, work a little bit every day. You could take the approach of just, you know, maybe it takes you a couple days to do the stonework on a painting like this. You know, if you're just starting out and you haven't done stonework a lot, you know, it's going to take you some time to get the feel for painting the lights and the darks. and, you know, using the damp brush method and things like this. Don't worry about it. But I just wanted to kind of get it in there so you kind of see the general idea of how we do things. I'll do some splashing. A little bit of blotting too. You can blot up some stuff like that. All right, so that's looking good. Then you can go back in and do little bits of dark. Just like that, so have fun with it. I'm filling in the mortar joints now, just to kind of soften those up a little bit. I don't want any too bright lights in there. I think it looks better if it's got some darker shadows in there, like that. Okay, so that's pretty much the field stone, and again, you can develop it a little more carefully, a little slower, but again, this was our swatch that we did the other day. That we took more time doing this, so you can do that too as well. You can make it more, I'm just going quicker again just to get the basic idea of things. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and get some blue and a grayish blue color. A little bit of gold in there, like this. A little bit of green. And I'm just going to do that. I'm going to go across here with that bluish gray color for the stone, like a blue stone or a limestone. Like that. Okay, we have our limestone. And then you're going to notice that we really get some colors, exciting colors going once we let's get some more of this. I'll try to just, all right, I'll tell you what, let's take a break. We did a lot of work. Now, if you're doing the stonework, you will notice it does take a lot of time to do this stonework to get it done really nicely. And, you know, you have to take your time. And if you watch my video on how to do stone and brick veneer, check out my video. We just did it a few weeks ago. We develop it a little more slowly and more carefully. Here I'm going a little quicker. Again, I don't want to spend 5 hours doing this video. You'll probably turn it off halfway through or even less than that. So I want to make sure I kind of go through this quickly so you can kind of just get the overall idea of how beautiful your painting is going to look with a house, some stone veneer on there, a beautiful window, some landscaping, a blue sky, some beautiful green hills. We're going to pop this really nice with some color, some nice greens and yellows and golds for the hills. Beautiful summer scene. We have a cool interior of the house here with some warm and cool shadows. We have this window here on the other side of this house, on the other wall across from this room. You'll see the distant fields in this window. So you really have a feeling of three-dimensional quality in this painting. And I think you'll be very satisfied with this if you're doing this as a composition or a painting for your own work. And I think, again, I think you'll be very happy and excited about this type of a painting. It's really pretty straightforward. Once you get your drawing done, you're in really good shape. I'm going to do a few more lines up here for the clapboard siding, just to get a few more little indications of the lines here. And I think that's pretty good. And then we'll do a little bit of shadowing on our rake boards next, and then we'll start working in our fields. Okay? All right, so let's come right back in about a minute or two. I just want to take another quick break. We should always take breaks every, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you think. If you need breaks every 10 minutes, then do it that way. Or if you don't need breaks for, a half an hour to an hour, that's fine too. I don't mean to force you to take breaks or kind of like really say you have to, but I find it's better for me that I take breaks. You're the artist. You have to decide if you need breaks. You might not need breaks at all. You can just maybe start working and work 4 or 5 hours straight, and you don't need any breaks. So, but you have to figure that out for yourself. And I'm hoping that you'll join me back in just a few more minutes. We're going to start to wrap up the painting. I think we have it pretty much really a long way through. We're just going to do a few more things, and I think we'll be completed. We'll do the sky, the distant hills here, and the grass in the foreground, and we'll do a little more detail around the window, and that's about it. Okay, so we'll be right back. All right, so we've been working quite a bit now with our painting, developing the colors, the washes, a little bit of shadowing. I think we're going to up our size of brush. We're going to use the 5/8 inch Princeton Art and Brush Company wash brush or flat brush. And I think that's going to be a little bit easier than using our round brush here. So this is the Simply Simmons number 6. I use it quite a bit. We were able to do the window with that and the stonework here. And again, I didn't take my time as much as I should maybe with my stonework, but I wanted to mention to you that my video that we just did last week has the real nitty-gritty on really getting a beautiful, perfect field stone look. We took a little more time. But this is more of a quicker version. I just want to kind of give you the idea of some stonework underneath this house, and we're going to develop the rest of the painting. So I'll use this larger flat brush, and what we're going to want to do right now is just get a light wash on the clapboard siding here. So what I'll do is I'll just pick up some of these golds and greens and blues, a little bit of the reds. And what I want to do is just start getting some color on here. And then once I get a little bit of color on the paper, then I just take my brush, damp brush, I dip it in water, take off some water on a sponge, and then I sort of just get some wash on. Sporadic though, not everywhere, I want to kind of give a feel for maybe of texture. So to get texture, we don't want to paint everywhere, if that makes sense anyway. So to get texture, we don't want to paint everywhere. We want to get a little bit of paint on there, a little bit of wash on there, then rinse the brush off, take off a little bit of water on a sponge or a paper towel or tissue. And then you just kind of take that little bit of wash you put on and you kind of thin it out and move it around a little bit just to give yourself some texture on the siding. And the siding probably looks good with, some of these textures and colors like this. It is white. You can also use a tissue to blot. I like to blot too. So once I get a little bit of wash on there, you can blot up a little bit of the wash. This way you're getting a little bit of texture on your wall here. Makes it look more interesting. We wouldn't want to leave this white paper, the walls here. So I have a little bit of orange, a little bit of green, a little bit of blue. A little bit of blue here I'll use. A little bit of blue. Just like that. So I think if you kind of get some of this approach of light washes, just kind of, lift up some with tissue just to get some texture on there. Like that. I think that's going to look much better. And again, you can also lift up a little bit with the tissue, and then we can also take that same same wash, and we'll do a little texture around the window trim. So more or less the shadows are going to be on the underside of things. But this is kind of, we're just going to try to get a little bit of wash on the trim too. And this is where you pick up subtle little bits of color. And I had this brush, this Simply Simmons number 6, is actually really nice. It actually can give you some darks and lights, washes, and also fine points. So you can do quite a bit with this brush. And I want it to darken up underneath here and here. So that's sort of where that shadow is underneath the window. And if you go over some white paper, you can always touch up with a little bit of white paint. We'll show you that at the end of the video. We're going to clean up some of these, maybe where we paint over a white area where we want to keep it white trim, let's say, around the window. Maybe we go over with a dark color and we kind of cover over that a little bit of the trim. We'll come back later and we'll just touch a little bit of white paint and kind of clean up some of those little spots where we might go over the edges a little bit of where we originally planned. We wanted to maybe keep something lighter or white color or light color. If you have a dark brush stroke that goes off course, don't worry about it. You're going to fix that later. We're going to show you how to do that here. And so we're going to do that in just a little while. But now we really have quite a bit of nice work done here with everything. And we're going to have some more, a little bit of more details on the trim. So you get some darks in here. Dry off a little bit of the darks on your brush onto the, and then you can have a little bit of dark. Again, what we're doing is I think we're putting in some details to this, some texture, some grains of wood, maybe there's a little bit of dust and dirt that has been flying around this area of the farm, and maybe you'll see a little bit of the dust and things on the siding, the clapboard siding, and on the windows and things like that. And it's an older structure. Maybe it's been around since the late 1900s or something. So it's maybe, you got some splits in the wood, here and there. And okay, so I can kind of get a good feel for this now of how it's kind of shaping up. It's looking good. I've got the window pretty set here, and then let's go in and do some shadowing. Let's do some of this. Let's do a little bit of shadowing under that rake board. I have to spin all the way around with my arm, all the way around the other side of this paper here to get this. You could put a piece of tape on here too. Don't be afraid if you want to do some creative ideas with some tape. I used to do this more often. You can frequently. You could take some tape, put it across where your trim is. This is much like if you're going to paint in real life. If you're going to paint trim on a house or in the interior of your house, and you don't want to paint over, let's say, the ceiling. Let's say you're painting the walls of your house. You don't want to paint your ceiling. Or let's say you want to paint your ceiling and you don't want to paint the tops of the walls. You can take a piece of small tape like this and run it across the top of your wall so that you don't paint over. So now we can do our shadow, our warm and cool shadow here. So I'm going to have some red in there, some orange, some blue, like this. We'll go right across like that. And then what we can do is we can get a little bit of a darker bit of color there, just along this, right where the tape edge is. Like that. And again, if you go over any spots, don't worry about it. We'll get that later with some white paint. Always remember, titanium white paint can really touch up some of your spots on your painting if you went over some lines and whatever. Don't worry about it. Now you can just lift this up and you get a nice, crisp, nice clean line like that. That looks really good. And again, we'll touch this up later with a little bit of white paint. I went over the line a little bit there. And then also too, let's get those shingles in there. So the shingles are gonna kind of be like this, and nothing fancy. They're just haphazard in there like that. They overlap each other like that. Like that. And those are the shingles. Easy as that. And then one more shadow. Let's do one more shadow under here, under this rake board. And you're going to want to do the same idea, the same width. The shadows should be about the same. And you can use tape there again too if you want to make it a little bit easier. That goes right over the top of that trim there too. And it stops there. Like that. Okay, and we'll also do a touch of texture to our trim boards. So you'll see I do some warm and cool, a little bit of orange color, a little bit of blue. Like that. A little bit of warm, a little bit of cool, like that. Then I smooth it on out. Then we can take our tissue, blot it up, like that. Good. All right, so we have some trim there with a little bit of texture to it. Looks interesting. Now, let's get into our, let's take a little bit of a, we'll take a little bit of a clean area here. Let's clean up a little area over here. And let's get our yellow and green like this. So lots of yellow, lots of green. A little bit of a cool green here. And then maybe a little bit of a bluish green here. We want to make maybe a bluish green down here, cooler green. And trying to keep my battery charged here on my phone. All right, so now let's start getting into this. Wow, does that not really brighten up this picture? There you go. And I promised you, you would have a really nice detail of this window on the other side of the room. So this is the interior of the house, this dark area, the cool shadows of the interior of this room. And then on the other side of that wall is another window on the other side of the house. And then you can see right through there to the other side of the house and then into that field. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. I'll just shift up to use a larger brush here. And we're going to do this. Maybe we'll muddy that up a little bit. Like that. Okay, so you can see we're coming right along here. We got that beautiful green, bright green, sunlit field in the background here. And then maybe we'll shift over to some darker green. A little bit of brown in there. Maybe it's more of a kind of an olivey green. So maybe this is like a lawn. There's a lawn here in the front of the house. More of that olivey green color. There you go. I'm just trying to get some ideas on here, but you can see how this works. The painting is really looking good now. We have lots of color, more sunlight feel, a sunlit feel with the bright greens. Let's mix up a little more, let's see, blue sky. Maybe we can use a little bit of this green and then some blue. And then some orange, and I'll make a little spot here just to mix in a little bit of orange. There we go. A little bit of orange. And we got some blue sky here. Up there. Some blue and green, and I'll try to really spice up the colors up here just for fun. Why not? And then I carefully paint underneath here. The sky's always darker up top. And you can blot up a little bit of paint if you want to lighten it up a little. It'll lighten up naturally, of course. Watercolor always dries lighter. Then I'm going to lighten up this wash as we go this way. Like that. And then a little bit of that orange. I think a little touch of that blue over here is going to look good. Okay, then I'll take a little bit of that blue and green. Get a little bit of that on there. Green and yellow, like that bright green and yellow. I put a little bit of that onto the walls, a little bit onto the stonework, a little bit of the blue too. Warm and cool, so blue and a little bit of blue on the walls here. So I add a little bit of that blue, then I blot it up a little bit. That just gives us a little bit of the tie-in with the sky colors. And I think you really can see we've had a fun time here. Let's come back just for, one more minute. Let's do a little touch-up with our titanium white. So I have a tube of titanium white. We're going to show you how you can recapture some of those white bits of paper on your painting if you went over with some dark lines. You never have to worry about that. You always have a little bit of titanium white to rescue those areas of your painting where you might have just went over a little smidgen with your brush. So don't worry about it. If you ever have a little issue here and there on your paintings as you're painting and going along, don't worry about it. There's always little fun ways you can fix things up as you go. And always remember, it's just a painting. You're going to be doing another one next week or tomorrow or the next week, and so you're just going to keep moving along. So don't get frustrated if you find that any of your paintings have issues, especially if you're just starting out. Remember, if you're just starting out in watercolor, your first 1 or 2 years, you have to expect that a lot of your paintings you're going to have struggles. But the thing is, it's good to have struggles because that's how you learn how to find easier ways to do things to get around those struggles. Or if you make an error or two here and there once in a while, you'll learn as you go how to avoid those errors. So it's always good to make errors and have problems arise when you're painting, because in all honesty, that's the way you learn. If you're not making mistakes and having errors in your paintings, that means you're not really, you might not be painting at all. So the more errors you can make in the beginning is better, because then you can kind of learn how to work with those and fix some of them. Sometimes you can't really fix them. You just have to put the painting to the side and start another one. So let's have fun with this. Don't get frustrated. Don't get worried. Keep painting along with me here. We're painting here every week, week after week, month after month, year after year with watercolors. And we're just going to keep going. And the more we're working on the fundamentals together, it'll just click with you, and you'll just keep learning and growing and getting better and better at your watercolors. And I already know you're getting better all the time. So don't worry. Let's keep moving forward. Let's come back for just 2 minutes, do a little bit of our titanium white touch-ups so you can kind of see how we do that. And then we'll wrap this up. Okay? All right. See you in a second. All right. Let's finish up. We just mentioned we're going to use our titanium white tube. We're going to take just a touch. What I did is I just zoomed in on my painting here so you can kind of see a little bit more in depth and up close how we do this. So I just take my titanium white tube, take the cap off, rinse my brush off with water, go in and get a touch of orange in my palette and a touch of yellow to make like a yellow ochre kind of color. But in any case, we're just going to warm it up a little bit with a touch of some warmer color like gold. So I'm touching this up with some gold in the top. So I touch the paint in my palette with some of the orange and yellow mixture. So it's kind of like a gold color, just to make that white paint a little bit having a golden color. Then we just go in and we touch up any spots that we see that we might have went over. So I'm going to just take that white paint, touch it over here and there. See, I went over my lines here with my corner trim. So I wanted to make sure I touch that up. So I just go in, put my brush into that white, titanium white, straight tube paint, no water. And I just go over any of the paint lines that I might have painted over. And that looks really good. Now over here on the window, I noticed I went over in a few spots over here on my window. So I want to touch that up a little bit like that. Over here as well. Like this. You could also do highlights at the same time. If you want to add a couple highlights along the top of this window. Like that. You could add a few highlights. So it's up to you how much you want to do, but I wouldn't go overboard. I would just say, you know, if you see a couple things that you need to add a little bit of white tube paint, titanium white with a little bit of orange and yellow mixed together to make like a gold color, just so it's not stark white. It'll kind of blend in better with the painting if you mix a little bit of gold and orange into your paint. And I think that's about it. So we did a little bit of our touch-up work here at the end of the painting, which is perfect, and I think we have a good finished look to the painting. And it looks even better if we put a matte over the top, our pre-cut matte. And you always remember too, you can always, that looks pretty good. And you can always go with a smaller matte if you just want to zoom in on maybe just like one thing. Maybe you just want to go with that's a little bit too small. But you could do this. You could do like just a window picture of a window like that. That looks pretty good too. So if you find that maybe another portion of your painting didn't come out great, you can always crop down your paintings, make it just like a window study. So that's like your window study, and you have a little bit of stone under there, a window, a beautiful window across inside that room, looking out across the way. beautiful three-dimensional quality to that. And then if it comes out good and you find that your sky and your whole entire painting looks good, that's fine. Let's leave it like that. We'll just use the larger mat like so. We can zoom it out a little bit like this. And there we have it. All right, I hope we had fun. We'll see you on the next video. Again, thanks for watching so much. Thanks for the comments. In the comments section of the videos that we do, I know all of you have great questions. You leave great comments, good insights. So everyone learns from that. So when you're creating comments in the comments section, it's wonderful for everyone. And again, it really encourages me to keep going, keep painting, having fun here. We're all together in this. We're on the watercolor journey together. So we'll move along to our next video soon. So within a couple days or maybe even tomorrow, we'll have another video out. And we'll keep working together, having lots of fun, okay? So we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.